January 25th. And did you perform an autopsy on Cora Clancy on January 25th, 2023?
Yes.
And did you follow that same process with Cora Clancy?
Yes.
And so that started with a document review, is that correct?
Yes.
And what type of documents are you reviewing when you do that?
Typically, I have a preliminary police report to review, as well as either EMS records or records from the emergency department.
And did you start with an external examination of Cora?
Yes.
And what did you observe during that external examination?
The external examination of Cora, I saw evidence of medical intervention. She was intubated, had various EKG pads and defibrillator pads on her body. She also had a catheter on her right hand and puncture sites on her left hand and her left groin. She had her neck stabilized with a cervical collar, and she had an intraosseous catheter, which is a type of IV they put directly into the bone on her right lower leg. Her hands at the time of my external examination were covered by police evidence bags, and they were secured at the wrist with tape. When I removed those, the fingers showed no evidence of injury, and the fingernails were all of equal length and intact. And then I noted evidence of trauma of the neck with associated injuries of her head and minor injuries of her right arm and of her legs as well.
And in terms of the injuries that you observed, evidence of trauma to her neck, were there also injuries to her face and neck area that seemed to go along with the trauma to her neck?
Yes, there were findings of the head that were associated with the trauma of the neck.
And what were those?
So on her neck, she had a ligature furrow. A ligature is an object used to apply external force to the neck or compress the neck, and a furrow is simply the pattern of injury that develops underneath the site of compression. So for Cora, her ligature furrow consisted of a linear, horizontally oriented area of pallor or paleness around her neck with distinct superior and inferior edges. On the front part of her neck, the lower half of the ligature furrow was associated with additional red abrasions ranging from 1 to 2 millimeters in size. And on the back of her neck, the superior and inferior edges of the ligature furrow had developed some linear bruising as well.
And what do you mean by a furrow?
So again, the furrow is a ligature is when you have external compression by an object on the neck, and a furrow is simply a pattern of injury that occurs beneath it. It can be an imprint, it could be a pattern, or it could be more developed types of injuries such as bruising or abrasions.
And what about injuries?
All right, Counsel, we're going to take a break this time, all right?
All right. Jordan, close your notebook. Place them on the chairs, please. This way, please.
Recess for a few minutes. I'm going to come back. We'll speak to counsel in regards to schedule. Okay. Yeah. All set.
Yes, I am still under oath.
be seated.
Your Honor, for the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Clancy. All parties are present, including the defendant and the 18 jurors.
All right. Attorney Sprague?
Thank you, Your Honor. You had described previously the injuries to Cora's neck. Were there also injuries on her face that correlated to those marks?
Yes. On examination of her face, she showed diffuse petechial hemorrhages of the skin of the face, most prominently around the skin of the eyes. She showed petechial hemorrhages on the inside of her eyelids as well as the inside of her lips.
And if I could have photo 2246, please. Doctor, there's a remote here. If you press and hold the top button, you can highlight what you're talking about in the photo when it comes up. What are we seeing here? Is that the area of the petechial hemorrhage?
Yes, in this photo, I have the lower lip pulled down, and on the inside of the lower lip, we can see punctate hemorrhages, which are the petechial hemorrhages.
Okay. And if you could, is that working for you? I can need to see that. There we go. Okay. This area here?
Yes.
Okay. You just hold that top button and hold it down. And so we can remove that photo. When you talked about petechial hemorrhage in the eyes and eyelids, did it look similar to that?
Yes.
And basically it's those red marks all around the mouth, and then those same red marks were on the eyes.
Yes.
Eyelids, you tell me where they were.
So they are pinpoint hemorrhages that occur, and again, they were located on the inside of the eyelids, so I inverted the eyelids, and I lift open the inside of the lips, and they were also in those locations.
And if we could have photo of 7784, please. If you could tell us what injuries we're seeing here in this photo.
In this photo, we are looking at the body from the left, and you can see the ligature furrow in this photo. Here is the linear area of pallor with the distinct superior and inferior edge. You can also appreciate in this photo some small punctate hemorrhages or the petechial hemorrhages of the face.
Okay. And if you could show photo 7782, please. What are we seeing here in terms of injuries?
In this photo, we are looking at the front of the neck, again focused on the ligature furrow, which is this distinct area, linear area of pallor. And on the front of her neck, the lower half of this ligature furrow had scattered red abrasions associated with it.
You can take down the photo. What are abrasions in terms of what you do?
So abrasion occurs when there is sufficient friction against the skin to cause a removal of the superficial layer of the skin.
Is it basically a scrape?
Yes.
And can we have photo 2256, please? You can tell us what we're looking at here, please.
This is a close-up photo of the back of the neck. Here is the linear area of pallor with the distinct superior and inferior linear edges. You can appreciate that the linear edges in this photo started to develop linear bruising.
And were there other injuries on the body other than those on the neck and the face?
Yes, she had injuries to her right arm and on her legs.
And if I could show you photograph 7789. Are you able to tell us what we're looking at here?
This is an up-close photo where we can see a very small, faint bruise. All of the bruises on her legs as well as her right arm consisted of small scattered bruises.
And if we could have photo 7770. What are we seeing here?
This is an image focused on her right leg. Here we see 3 bruises on her knee and 2 bruises on her left lower leg. This is a site of medical intervention, the intraosseous catheter site where the needle enters the bone.
And if we could see 7790, please. What are we seeing here?
This is a close-up photo of her left leg. Again, we can see a bruise here as well as a bruise here on her left lower leg.
And then the last photo, 2233. Oh, I'm sorry, one more after that. What are we seeing here in this photograph?
In this photo, we can see the bruises I described earlier, as well as the inside of her left ankle. We're seeing 2 additional bruises.
And if we could see photograph 7794. What is shown in this photo?
This is an image of her left leg, again showing the 2 bruises close to her left ankle and then additional bruises on her left lower leg.
And then 7775, please. What are we seeing in this photo?
This is an image of her right arm extended, and I have the image focused on her right bicep where there was 3 small bruises.
And in terms of bruising, are you able to tell the age of a bruise by looking at it?
No.
Can you tell whether it's a fresh or an old bruise?
So generally speaking, we can appreciate the color of bruises. So red, blue, purple bruises tend to be bruises that occur more recently, and as they heal over time, they start to take on a yellow or green appearance.
And the bruises that you observed on Cora's body, how did they appear?
They all had versions of red appearance to their shapes.
So because they had red appearance, does that mean that they are fresh wounds?
They occurred recently.
And again, you can't tell how they occurred or what the exact time and date they occurred.
Correct.
Is there any information you can glean from the location of the wounds where some of the bruises were close together, like the 3 on the knee or the 2 on the lower right leg?
No, I can only document where they are and their measurements.
Okay. Now, if I may have a moment.
Sure.
Going back to the injuries on her neck, what do those tell you based on your training and experience, when you're trying to determine the cause of death, what do those wounds tell you?
When I see a ligature furrow that is horizontally oriented in association with significant petechial hemorrhages, those findings are consistent with a ligature strangulation.
And what is ligature strangulation?
Again, a ligature is an object used to apply external force to the neck, and a strangulation is when it is done by someone else.
And when that happens, what effect does it have on the body? How does it? What is the mechanism of death?
Ligature strangulation results in a category of asphyxial type of deaths. Asphyxia means that the body is deprived of oxygen, and in this case, specifically the brain. So when you have compression on the outside of the neck, blood is how oxygen is delivered throughout our body. So the right side of the heart delivers blood to our lungs, where during breathing and respiration, we then put oxygen into our blood. It then moves to the right side of our heart and gets pushed out to our body through blood vessels we call arteries. Once the oxygen is released at its targeted site, it then recirculates to the right side of the heart through blood vessels called veins, and the process starts all over again. It's a continuous circulation. But when you have compression of the neck, first and foremost, your airways reduce, it's compressed. So you can have a reduction in your ability to breathe or complete inhibition in your ability to breathe. When you have compressions of the veins of the neck, the blood cannot drain from the head, and so then the blood actually has a backwards flow of pressure that meets the arterial blood, and that results in an increase of blood pressure within the blood vessels, as well as an overall increase in intracranial pressure. And with the compression of the artery, there's no oxygenated blood being delivered to the brain.
And as this blood is gathering in the face and head area, is that kind of causing the same type of pressure as a balloon filling up?
Yes, or like a water pipe as well.
Okay. And what happens as that blood pools and causes that pressure in the face and the head?
What normally happens is, first and foremost, the brain just has a reduced ability to take in oxygen, and in the smallest vessels in the face and brain, such as capillaries or venules, they are subject to rupture.
And as that pressure is building in those veins and are rupturing, is that painful?
Just like our blood vessels run throughout all of our body, there are nerves throughout all of our body as well. And so there is a component of pain present until loss of consciousness occurs.
And how long can it take, or does it take, for loss of consciousness to happen?
I cannot put a specific time on it for the interval. There's multiple variables to consider in a case-by-case basis. The type of ligature used, the force of the ligature used against the neck, as well as the intensity and duration of the altercation. However, in situations where there's complete oxygen deprivation, loss of consciousness can occur as early as 10 to 30 seconds, with brain damage beginning at the 1 minute mark and irreversible brain damage and subsequent death occurring around as early as 5 minutes, again with the caveat that there are variables that might accelerate or decelerate that time frame.
Is there a type of constant pressure that's required to cause that loss of consciousness?
Ultimately, once the brain has a critically low level of oxygen, a loss of consciousness will occur. It takes an average of 4 pounds to compress the veins of the neck and an average of around 10 pounds to compress the arteries of the neck.
And so if someone's squeezing something or pulling something around the neck at that 4 pounds or 10 pounds of pressure in a consistent basis without any resistance, does unconsciousness happen faster?
It could occur faster, yes.
What if someone's resisting or struggling or pulling away? Could that take longer?
When the body is in a state of stress, you have a stress response that demands an actual increase in oxygen utilization by our body. So in the presence of an increased demand with a decreased amount being delivered to the brain, it can accelerate the timeline to loss of consciousness.
What do you mean by accelerate the time to loss of consciousness?
It's obvious what she means.
No, overall, you can ask.
It would just make it occur faster.
And so if that pressure isn't constant, say someone struggles and is able to get free a little bit, and then you have to tighten it again, does that make it take longer?
Sustained.
You said it. Anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds. What are the factors? I'm sorry, you said 10 to 30 seconds. Is that correct?
Yes, for loss of consciousness.
What are the factors that are at play for whether it's 10 seconds or 30 seconds?
Again, there's multiple variables. The force of the ligature against the neck, the actual ligature itself, and the intensity and duration of the altercation.
And once someone loses consciousness, do they immediately die?
No. So if there's no intervention, the brain continues to have a lack of oxygen. And so until the brain cells start to die, it's irreversible injury to the brain. The person is alive until the body can no longer sustain the lack of oxygen.
If someone is strangled to the point of unconsciousness and the strangulation stops, can they wake up?
Without intervention is very unlikely.
So do you recall testifying previously that when asked if a person were to use a ligature around someone's neck to the point where they pass out?
Counsel, we've had that answer, right?
It's an inconsistent statement.
This is your witness.
I know, and I can impeach with an inconsistent statement.
I see it's sidebar.
Doctor, do you have to continue to strangle someone past the 30 seconds to cause death?
No. Once the brain is subject to oxygen deprivation and brain cells start to die, it's irreversible, and so it will continue to progress towards death if there's no intervention.
What do you mean by intervention?
Resuscitative efforts, if somebody tried to give CPR, if they were hooked up to oxygen machines.
Okay. Do you recall testifying previously that it would be your opinion that pressure would need to be continually applied even after losing consciousness to cause death?
Sustained.
Hold
on. Sustained. Next question.
So your testimony is that you can strangle someone for 30 seconds, let go, and then they die?
I said that in this presence of complete oxygen deprivation, there is a general time frame, and so 30 seconds, I cannot give a specific number to that. Once strangulation occurs, again, the brain starts to be subjected to a lack of oxygen. So whether the ligature is present or whether the ligature is not present, the oxygen deprivation and irreversible brain damage is already occurring.
And there's no coming back from that?
Not without intervention. It's very unlikely. Again, the brain cannot heal those cells. or whether the ligature is not present, the oxygen deprivation and irreversible brain damage is already occurring.
And there's no coming back from that.
Not without intervention. It's very